Hi everybody, my name's Rebekah, that's me, and I'm on staff with Power to Change. I've been on staff for about 7 years and I really enjoy art. I studied it in university at Brock, but as a team, our creative team, we're recognizing that during this time of the pandemic and with everybody's lifestyles being changed, we see a need for an artistic and peaceful and creative, calm presence. So that students can enjoy art and creativity, and also to participate alongside. So I'm hopeful that you will join me in doing some art and some scripture today. I'm hoping to make a couple little paintings that will incorporate scripture in some way. So there are two kind of ways that you could do it. You could start with a verse or a scripture or a word that's a key theme in the Bible, and then make a painting based on that. Or you could make a painting and then see what verse comes to your mind or heart in response to that. So what I have done is the second method, but you could do either way. So the materials that you're going to need is some paper, ideally watercolor paper. If you don't have that, just a thicker kind of paper would be good. If you have cardstock or something, it probably, the thinner the paper is, the more it'll bend and warp with the water. Make sure you have some water, some paper towel, or a rag or something you could wipe your brush on. I'm gonna use some small brushes. I really like these thin, small ones for watercolor. And I have this bigger one for painting the backgrounds. This is a square brush, and some round brushes. And for a palette, you can use whatever you want, but something simple is if you have wax paper, that's really easy as a disposable palette. I'm using several different watercolor paints here. So the colors that I've used today are Madder Lake Red, Yellow Ochre, Indigo. Those are my three favorites. And then I'm using a violet, like a purple color, and green. It doesn't matter what colors you choose. I'm just showing you what ones that I'm using today. This is a Viridian Green, and a black. This one's a little busted. And then I'm using, I might use, I'm not sure. This is Gouache. It's a little bit different from watercolor, but it's mixable with watercolor. It dries a little bit kind of chalky, but this is a white, because in watercolor there's no white. You usually use the white of the paper and water to make white, but if you want a more opaque kind of white, then you can mix gouache with it. I also have a couple fine pens and a couple of water brushes. So they're not necessary. You can use a small paintbrush if you want. That's for the lettering that I'll do later. And I have some pencils and eraser just for underneath. I have scissors for later for cutting the tape, and then painter's tape is really important for what we're going to do. You could use masking tape. Painter's tape is better if you have it, just because it doesn't stick to the paper as much. And depending on how your paper is made, you might find that it rips off some of the paper when you take it off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by framing the areas that I'm going to be painting using the painter's tape. And I'll just kind of, I'm not being picky about what size or dimensions these really are, but one thing that I want to encourage you is when you have your tape, just put it on fabric or something a few times to take away some of the stickiness, and it'll help to prevent that ripping of your paper. know it seems like a lot, but my paper's been ripping a lot when I've been practicing, so I'm gonna try this. Okay. So I'm not pressing it down too hard just because of the ripping. I think I want it to be around that size. So again, just I'm using my shirt this time, but I'm gonna keep ripping or putting the tape on my clothing so it'll just pick up some of the fibers and prevent from tearing. I think like there maybe. I have some tape that I saved from the last time that I painted that I'll use for the sides. Okay, so I have my two rectangles, and what I'm gonna do now is mask off a piece in the middle where I can write. So it can be whatever size you want. You can use tape just to mark out where you'd like to have the text. And so this is where I'm gonna use the scissors and just trim the edges off nicely. Something like that. I'll put that in just about the middle, and I'll do another one for down here. Just trying to eyeball it a little bit. Get it mostly centered. It is important that the edges are sharp on the middle piece, just because that's gonna mark the box that your text is gonna be in. So make sure the edges are pressed down pretty well. Okay, so here we go. We're set up. So I'm gonna start with the top one, and what I'm gonna do for this one is I'm going to blend some colors from the top to the bottom. And what am I gonna start with here? I'm gonna get some paint ready. So when you're blending colors, it's best to have the paint ready to use before you start, because the water will dry up really quickly on the paper. So if you want it to mix properly, then doing this part beforehand is really helpful. Make this a little bit lighter here. Okay. I want some black because I want a bit of a gray at the start, at the top I mean, and yeah, this tube broke, but because it's watercolor and it's dry, I can reactivate it with water. Okay, so just add some more water here so I'll have a good gray. So I'm gonna start with the gray at the top, and that's a little dark for me, so I'm just gonna add some water, and it's okay if you add the water straight on. And then get my green. Try and do it pretty quickly because like I said, it dries, and you don't want a very sharp line. Yeah, it's better to have it blend in more. And then see how the tape kind of prevents the colors from, or it just keeps the colors from going over the edge. So it's a little bit splotchy. That's okay. Touching it up after doesn't always work the best because it kind of drags with you, the pigment, but it's worth a shot. So when you're happy with it, you can just let this one dry. Okay, so that's it for the background for that one. I just want to do something really simple. And then for this one, you can do, yeah, whatever you want to do, whatever colors you want to do. I'm gonna do some yellows and some purples and make some flowers. And I want to include a little bit of the indigo as well. One color I forgot to put on my palette is a lemony kind of yellow. What's this one called? Cadmium yellow. Oh boy, it's hard to get off. Just because I want to create a little bit of variety in between. I want some variety in between the yellow ochre. Okay, I'll just use this lemon yellow. That cad yellow was really hard to get open. I just need a little bit of that. You can use, like I'm using tubes of watercolor paint, but you can use cakes of it. Doesn't matter what kind you use. These ones were from my grandma. She's in her 88th year and she started painting when she was 45. Yeah, she's a fabulous artist. So yeah, it's special to have these. I'm gonna start doing some yellow. I don't know how well you, okay, yeah, you can see that. I'm just gonna do a few strokes sort of loosely in a circular pattern. And that's pretty thin yellow there. When it's wet, you can do what's called wet on wet technique and add some darker pigment in. It's kind of fun to watch if you even just touch it to the pool of watery paint that's already there and watch it spread. It's kind of pretty. I want a bit of a lighter one. There's a lot of pigment in there. Okay. I'm gonna make a couple little buds here. I like when they're pretty watery and loose. They're a little more faint that way. I'll just tap in some of this brighter yellow. Let me see what's next here. I'll do one here. That one, I want it to be a little more faint than the other ones. There, again, just tapping, wet on wet, tapping into a little pool of color that's already there. I'm gonna make, actually I'm gonna add in some more of the darker darker yellow here. Oh, that's not quite dry, so I'll wait to come back to that. A couple more buds. And maybe just one more little one there. And then I'm just gonna take the brush and do some strokes that are like a little bit more like, I don't know what to call it, but it's not greenery because it's not green, but like leaf and stems and whatever with the yellow. So now I'm gonna clean my brush and jump over to my purple. This is pretty light purple. I'm gonna take some of it over to this corner here. I'm gonna darken it up a little bit, add some of the crimson and a little dash of that blue. Then I have a bit of a darker variation of the purple to use on top. Okay. I'm going to do basically the same thing. Bring in little circular strokes that kind of resemble a flower. We got some of that wet on wet happening here, which I don't mind. Just fill in flowers however many you want to. And then I'll make a few purple buds as well. And they're just kind of like a teardrop shape. Gonna use some of the purple as well to create the foliage looking. There, that's the word, foliage. So this is dry brushing. I don't know if you can see how it's kind of discontinuous in the strokes. I kind of like that for this. And I'm okay with doing some bigger color fields too. I'm going to do a bit more of that after actually. Okay, and I have my darker purple, so I'm just going to go in on some of the parts that I want to highlight here. Gives it a little more dimension. And I don't mind if they bleed together like that, it's kind of nice. I'll tap some of this darker purple in at the bottom of these buds. and hopefully they'll spread a bit. What I want to do also is, oh yeah, I want to put a little bit of the yellow in to the wet spots where it's kind of like the center of the rose in the purple ones. Gives it a little bit more life. I'm just adding some to the purple buds because why not? Yeah, so I think I maybe want to make one more yellow rose back here, as if it's kind of in the background. Even just giving it some suggestions of shape and form and flower likeness. Doesn't have to look perfect. And now that this underlayer is dry, I'm gonna bring some darker colors on the yellow too. You don't have to do this, but I find it gives it a little more dimension. All right, so oh yeah, the blue. So I'm choosing this bluey green color to do some of my stems and leaves. It's a color that kind of goes nicely with it. You can choose whatever, but I'm just gonna do some kind of brushy strokes like this. Got those little guys here. I'm just gonna kind of fill this in as a blue field. One thing about watercolors, you can't really undo any of your strokes. Do a bit of a leaf shape here, a couple leaves, and the stems. So here I'm going to just add a little bit of water and blend this in to make this more of a color field. I'd like to go kind of to the edges and use the different colors that I've got in my palette to fill in the background a little bit. And I'm all right with it blending together. And get some yellow going in here. little bit of yellow in here. Basically until you're happy with it. You can leave some white space in there too. Allow them to mix a little bit. Purple and yellow are complementary colors, so if they blend, you'll get a bit of a brown. But if you want that, you can go for it. And it's nice having a bit. See, there's a darker yellow, a lighter yellow. Just kind of seeing what looks good with the surrounding colors. And I think I'll get a little more blue in here. Just the top here. Maybe a little bit of purple here. Okay, so now this one is dry. You can feel that. And then what I'm gonna do is peel off the tape, and then I can do the lettering. So fun fact, my camera stopped recording when I did this the first time, so I cut out another piece of paper and put it over top so you can just see what I did. But yeah, here we go. Okay, so looking at the color palette of this one with the grays and the greens and blues, it feels more somber to me, and I guess kind of sturdy, calm, peaceful, steadfast. So the scripture that came to mind for me to put here is Psalm 46:10, which says, "Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I'll be exalted in the earth." And for me, a couple of days ago, I read this in my devotions and was really impacted just by that first statement, especially, "Be still and know that I am God." I'm in control. And so for me, in this time of the pandemic and just having to stay at home, feeling like it's never going to end, I have struggled with that, as I'm sure a lot of you have. And this gave me a lot of comfort, just remembering that God is in control. So yeah, this is what I wanted to write. Typically what I'll do is use pencil and kind of figure out ahead of time how I want it to be arranged. So I'm just gonna write the first line of the verse. Be still. So I'm doing cursive for that, and then I want to do all caps, smaller below. And I'll write the reference in the middle here. That's a little bit off center, so I'll move it that way when I do it in the real version. Okay. I usually do it in pencil first too, before I put the pen on, just so that I know I'm happy with the placement. It's a little smaller than I was hoping, but that's all right. Where was that? It was the end of the W, so I'll move it a little bit this way. All right, and so then I'll move to my pen. So this is, you can use whatever you want, but I'm using a 3-point, I don't know if it's millimeters or what, but black pen or marker. And I'll just retrace the lines that are here. Okay, so I will now make sure that the marker's dry, and then I'll erase the pencil marks. Okay, so my friend taught me how to do a kind of fake calligraphy. It's like a cheater calligraphy. And so you just take a thicker brush or marker or pen and make thicker lines on any downstroke. So I'll go through, do that. I'm a beginner in calligraphy. I have learned some stuff online and from friends and workshops. So yeah, I'm learning. And you can reference a lot of videos online if you want to know more about how to actually properly do calligraphy. But then for the ends of the brush marks, it's still pretty thick, so I'd like to make it a little more natural and use the thinner marker to just connect anything that's rough, just smooth it out. Okay. And I'm done. So I'm also gonna erase this. And just for fun, I will take off the one that I just did now and show you what my original looked like. It's pulling up the paper a little bit, but there we go. This one's dry now. So what I'm gonna do is, just like before, peel off the middle. The paper's peeling a little bit. That's okay. There we go. Okay. So for this one, it just made me think of the word thankful, and being in self-isolation. I can be really ungrateful for different things, like not being able to see family, not being able to cuddle my really cute little nephew and see friends. But I'm reminded that I still need to be thankful, and that there are so many things that I can still be thankful for. So the color scheme and everything, it just kind of made me feel like, okay, this feels thankful. So this is what I'm gonna use my water brush for. I think this one's too big. So it's basically just a brush and it holds water in it, and I can use watercolor on it. So just like this one, I'm going to write out the word in pencil first. Make sure I get the spacing right. Alright, and I'm happy with that. So this is a little bit harder to use. What color am I going to do? Yeah, I'm going to do blue. So what I'll do is actually taking straight a darker pigment is better because the water does come out of the brush and mixes with the paint. So if you start with something that's pretty watery, then it's going to be even more watery. So with this, I'll try and do some thicker down strokes. And if there's too much on it, just tap it. A little bit darker in here, and then I'll just let that dry. And to clean out the brush, I just squeeze water and tap my paper until the brush is clean and what comes out on the paper is clean. And actually, I'm gonna make this T a little bit darker to match with the other letters. All right, and now we will let it dry. Okay, so I've come back and this is dry. Now it's my favorite part, and that is pulling off the tape, seeing what it looks like. I am getting a bunch of paper pulling up, but that's all right. All right, and there we go, all done. Yeah, so thank you so much for participating, and I hope that this was a restful time for you, that you enjoyed being creative, maybe learning something, and writing scripture. You can do whatever you like with these. You can cut them out and put them up on your wall, frame them, keep them in your sketchbook, or even send them to a friend in the mail. We all love snail mail, and it's a good time to encourage people. So hopefully we will have some more videos that you can paint along with, or art along with, and process or enjoy scripture, express yourself, just rest in the future. Thanks. Bye.